Hey everyone, and welcome to Her Own Narrative. This is a space where we gather to share the incredible stories of women, the ones you know and the ones you wish you did. We're here to celebrate their journeys, acknowledge their challenges, and build a community. Hi Taj.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
For our audience, our viewers, Taj is a lovely friend and she's just gone through some rough times and it's her story, so I'll let her share her story.
When you asked me and you shared what you were about to do, I thought, what an amazing thing to do, to give a platform to women to share their story. And I do have a story. You know, everyone's stories are different. Some are sad, some are happy. So after 23 years, I decided to separate, leave my marriage, apply for a divorce, and not an easy decision.
I can imagine.
The right time to make that decision. And I know as a society, as a culture, we think divorce is frowned upon, it's a taboo.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what inspired me to share my story, because there's probably many women out there in marriages that they're not happy in, or they don't feel like they have an identity. And I'm not saying I'm doing this to encourage people to get divorced, but maybe to just stand up for themselves a bit more, look at doing something for themselves, you know, just
Finding themselves, find your happiness.
Yeah.
It's okay to be you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yes, we're mothers, we're wives, we're daughter-in-laws, daughters, sisters, you know, whatever we are, but we're also...
Those are our roles. They
Exactly.
don't define us.
No.
They are. If I have to ask who is Taj, I think you'll tell me, "Oh, I'm a mother. I'm this, I'm that."
100%.
Because I had that when I had a meeting with a bunch of lovely women, and the first question was, "Guys, just define yourself, introduce yourselves." And you know, every woman introduces themselves as a role.
Yes.
We forget what we are.
Yeah, we do. And I think especially when you've been in a marriage as long as I had been, you don't even know. I wouldn't even know where to start. Even today, right now, I wouldn't know where to start without saying first, I'm a mum.
That does become your identity,
Yeah,
isn't it? You're
yeah.
so and so's mom.
That's
It. That's your
it.
identity. Yeah,
That's
at
it.
school,
You know,
at
school
the gates,
runs, yeah, cricket clubs,
we don't
whatever
know each
we
other's
do.
names. In fact, our names are saved.
Saved.
As someone's mom in the phone as well.
Yeah.
That's such a bizarre thing,
It
isn't
is.
it? Because a 20-year-old or 18-year-old Taj or Aniti would have never thought. And there's nothing wrong with it. I love being a mom.
Yes.
But I do want to be me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you said, it's a role. It's a job. You know, raising children is a job.
Oh, yes.
It's a thankless task.
My mom used to say that.
Yeah, such a thankless task. But you watch your children grow and fly the nest and you feel like, okay, I did my job right, you know. But it's not who I am.
No. Yeah, exactly. They're going to fly the nest.
Yeah.
And what you're left with then, and I have that conversation with my kids, and I
Yeah.
always say, it's like, my pride comes when I see you growing up beautifully, being kind kids.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're going to live for yourself. You're not going to turn around and say, "Oh, Mom, you sacrificed that for me that day.
No,
I'm going to do this today for you."
No
one is. So in that process, we need to keep ourselves going.
Decision, part of it was knowing that when the kids leave home, I'd be left with this person who I don't feel compatible with anymore. I don't feel like I see a future together anymore, you know, living different lives, different paths, different expectations of our future, and they weren't similar. You know, we were two young, very young adults when we got married. We had an arranged marriage, early 20s. I was 20, he was 22. We were kids. I think we have this vision that if you're 18, that's it, you become an adult. No, still kids, still, you know, I'd never lived away from home. So, you know, I think marriage makes your whole world turn upside down. Whether you know the person or not, your world does change.
Yeah.
And I feel like back then you can have all the dreams and wishes of what you feel like marriage is going to be like, what your future will be like. But until you live it, you don't know, do you? So after 23 years, I thought, okay, no, it's time to do what I feel is right for me.
So you made a decision for yourself.
Yeah.
Did you ever make a decision for yourself before this, prior to this?
Not that I can think of.
Because you were too young to be making decision at 20 if you got
Yeah,
married.
yeah.
Really, you had an adult life for 2 years
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah. So the marriage decision was for my dad in particular. You know, Dad said that's the next step in your life, so let's do it. So did it. You know, having kids was our joint decision.
Yeah.
So we
I
had
think those are
kids.
expected things
Yeah.
once you have your education. That's how our
Yeah.
generation
Yeah.
was raised. You've had an education. Next right thing is to get married.
Yeah.
Next right thing is to get kids.
Yeah.
Next right thing
Yeah.
is to send them
Yeah.
university.
And nobody in my family had ever stopped and questioned it. But why? Why do I have to get married? Why do I have to have children? You know, why do I have to
Yeah.
live there or go there? And you just did it because everyone before you did it. So you're going to do it too.
Your mum did it, your grandma did it, your sister did it.
So carry on. You know, so, and I think like we said before that with the eldest children, so you feel like you've got a duty to do the right thing because you've got siblings behind
You've got to
you.
set the example right. Yes.
Watching you and thinking, well, if they did it, then we've got to do it, you know. So I felt like being the eldest child, took that step because my dad made that decision, and then lived the life I lived because we were a family unit raising children. So you just do the right thing because you're responsible. And as parents, you are responsible for your children. It's your duty to make sure you provide them with everything they need and want. But then you do stop and think, what about me?
What about me?
Yeah.
23 years is a long time. Like to start your life again must be scary.
So scary.
I can imagine.
Yeah. If anyone tells you it's not scary, it is scary.
Oh my God, I can just imagine. And we were talking earlier, you weren't working before. And that's massive as well. You don't know where to start. Like Taj, before marriage, whatever you did then is not you at all.
No. I mean, we were talking about roles. Wherever I went and introduced myself, I was a mum, but I was a stay-at-home mum. And I used to say, I'm just a housewife.
Yes. Because that's what we were. We were, because it's not a paid job, is it? So you're just a housewife.
Just a housewife. And I would say 8 times out of 10, whoever I said that to would be like, what do you mean you're just a housewife?
Oh, that's very lucky of you to have those kind of people around you because not many women do.
No.
They are expected just a housewife is just a housewife.
Just a housewife.
So what if you have to organize the diaries? So what if you have to pick the kids 3 different kids, 3 different times, 3 different activities to keeping all the family
sometimes
together.
3 different
clean
meals.
The foods. Oh, sometimes every day. Every day. But it's you're just a housewife.
Just a housewife.
Yes.
And then I think that opens your eyes a bit when someone
does.
says to you, what do you mean just? Do you ever stop working?
No.
When you're a housewife,
round the clock.
do you ever stop working? You know, constantly, even through the night when you're thinking, are they asleep? Did I just hear them?
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
I used to always joke about that. It's like, oh gosh, when I go to work, I actually get a break. I can have a cup of tea, which is not cold. My mum still goes mad at me because I'm so used to having a cold cup of tea now. She's like, why are you having tea? This is water.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not used to having a hot cup of tea anymore.
No, it's so true.
Yeah,
so true.
and it's nothing to do, and it's every mother. It's not that I am special in doing that.
No.
Every mother goes through that.
Yeah, our mothers did. You know, it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you suddenly get to the stage where your children are a lot older, like my children, 2 of them are adults, you know, and the youngest one's only 15. And you start to feel that, hold on a minute, they're going to be gone.
What about me then?
Well, what am I going to do, you know? And I did lose my identity. You know, my family say to me now as well, it's time for you to find yourself again. You know,
but it's a valid question, isn't it? Well, you've just said, what about me? Once the kids are gone, what are you going to be?
Yeah.
You're not like you are a mother, but you don't have mother responsibility anymore. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, what am I going to do? I still don't know.
But you're finding out.
I'm finding out, and at least now I'm doing things that make me happy, make me want to look into the future. I feel like I'm a better role model for my children as well, because I feel like I'm inspiring them to make decisions for themselves. You know, it's always good to get advice from people, and But I think this was one of the places that me and my ex clashed, that I think as a parent, our parenting styles were very different. He felt that any mistakes he'd made in the past, he needed to teach the children so they didn't make them. I feel like you can guide them,
Yeah,
but
you've got to
until
learn
they've
from your
made that
mistakes.
mistake themselves, they're not going to learn from it.
If anyone could learn from other people's mistakes, there'll be no mistakes left in the world, because everyone's made
Yeah,
mistakes.
yeah.
We have to learn
Yeah.
from our mistakes, and that's the best thing. You've got to make mistake to learn that it was a mistake.
And to be fair, the mistakes we made may not be mistakes in their lives.
Yeah,
That's
true as well.
They could be good for them. But I always said to him that let them make the mistake. We can guide them. We can be here to catch them. We can support them in any way possible, but we can't stop them, especially when they were getting towards their late teens. You know what teenagers are like. And you can't tell them.
No, you can't. And especially the world we're living in today, it's such an informed world. These kids are so lucky. I actually feel very, very happy about this generation, because there's so much out there. They are so informed.
Yeah.
They kind of have so much out there that they can make any decision they want. Yes, they got to be supported and they got to be guided, but it's their decision at the end of the day.
But they've got more available to them
Resources,
to guide them.
yes.
I mean, in just the 23 years I was married, how much things have changed.
Oh my gosh,
You know,
crazy.
phones were huge and thick and chunky when I got married. And now they're, you know, and our whole world is on a phone.
Oh yes, it's only going to get more.
You know,
So 23 years, Taj.
Yeah.
What did people say?
Oh, yeah, what did people say? You know, that common, you know, you've done 23 years. What's another 20 years, you know? What will people say? You've got adult sons, you know? And the most common thing was, what will people say? And I think I've always been like this. What does it matter what people say? What does it matter what people think? They're not living your life.
No, they're not.
You know, you're living your life, and their opinion about something you do doesn't matter to you, because that's their opinion, you know, and they may not be strong enough to make the decision you've made, or they may be in a happy marriage, so they can't see it from your point of view. But they're not living your life. They're not going to hold your hand. They're not going to pay your bills.
Nope.
They are literally just going to judge. And who doesn't do that? We're all guilty of it to some extent.
Human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's natural to, if something doesn't sit right with you, you're going to have an opinion on it. But as long as you can shut all that out, shut all those voices out, and just focus on what you want to do for yourself, it makes it a little bit easier. I think if you let other people get inside your head, it can make it difficult. As I was telling you earlier, my mum, similar but a lot more extreme, was in a relationship that wasn't good for her. You know, my mum and dad had a very rocky relationship, and as children we always told her, Mum, you can leave Dad, it's okay. You know, but no, because of what people think, you know, in-laws, her own family, you know, neighbours, anyone, you name
And
them.
also, I don't think that generation knew what else to do.
No.
How could they start
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
Where would they start?
Yeah, it's that
What would they
identity,
do?
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. What will
Like,
people see me as,
yeah.
or call me if
Yeah.
I...
But you know what still surprises me? We are in 2025. We are going and talking about living in Mars, and, you know,
Yeah.
AI taking over and robots. And we're still worried about what people are going to say.
Yeah. Especially recently in years with online social media, and that we read all these quotes and everything about supporting women. Come on, women, stop talking about each other and start supporting each other, guiding each other. And I think if you know you've got a friend or a sister or anyone in your life who's struggling, instead of talking about them, talk to them. You know, support them, ask them how you can help, because sometimes they don't want you to do anything for them apart from just listen. You know, that's a big thing. I think people think if someone shares their story, you've got to help them fix it.
Yep.
And that can be the most frustrating thing sometimes, because you want to make that's the whole point of this journey. You want to make decisions for yourself.
Yes. Was there anyone for you in particular who listened to you?
I'm very lucky. I've got a very good friendship group. Bearing in mind, I didn't know anyone here in this city when I moved here. I have no family here. And through the children, schools, cricket club, you know, all the activities they've done, I've got pockets of friendship groups everywhere. And I'm going to be honest, every single one of them's been amazing. You know,
Were there strength, you think?
definitely. So yeah, two or three friends who'd been through something very similar. So I spoke to them first, you know, big decisions they'd made, to say how, not like how as in how do I make decision, the nitty gritty things like,
Yeah.
you know, finding somewhere to live, you know, starting to pay my own bills, you know, just the simplest of things.
Was it scary, Touch?
It was scary. That first day was the most scary part, I think. Knowing that I'm about to step out of this home.
Your
you know,
home.
My home.
23 years.
23 years. Leaving everything I know behind. You know, even the children. I made that decision because I wanted them to have stability, be in the family home. I wasn't allowed to stay in the family home, so I made the decision to go. And that's fine, because I just wanted a quick fix in terms of taking away the thing in the home that was causing the problems.
Because are you calling yourself that?
Not that I was the problem, that the fact that we're not compatible every day was an issue. And, you know, it's not nice for the children to come home to that every day. So I felt like we clashed. So we need to be apart. And that might give the children a bit of peace. You know, I'm not saying that they can just get on with life then, but just a bit of peace and quiet to then just carry on being children. Like I said, I wanted to make this decision a few years, like 10 years ago, but they were very young. And I think I was more afraid then because it's a very different process then. You know, you're talking about sharing children then and school runs and whatnot. And yes, I've still got one at school for a couple of years, but older, that he can commute to school himself and back. So the decision now was because they're boys. I think we mentioned learned behaviour. You know, they're watching what a relationship is like. You are their first source of what a relationship is like. And you don't want them to watch. And especially because they're boys, they're going to grow up to be men.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go into the life of another woman, someone's daughter, someone's sister. And you don't want anyone to then say, as is in our culture, that you raised these boys.
True.
So you must have taught them to be like this.
And they see, they learn, they do what they see.
Yeah.
If that's the first impression of a relationship, that's what they think is normal.
Yeah.
Oh, my grandparents did that.
Yeah.
My mom and dad did
Yeah.
that. That's okay.
So it's
this is how marriages are meant to be.
And whether they agree with it or not, it's all they know.
Subconsciously, it's there. It's okay. You think it's okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like, I always say that it's not that my mom didn't teach me to be independent. I was a very independent girl because my mom and dad gave me the education. They always taught me that, you know, until date, it was nobody who told me that don't be independent, but it's a learned behavior. You're married and you do these roles and you lose your independence. That's not because someone's telling you that. No. It's learned.
Yes.
Because that's what, well, my mom was never actually saying that. My mom never stopped working.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's like, my gosh.
Yeah. See?
That's a bit of a realization as well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't even
No.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you say, you do everything subconsciously because it's there, it's embedded.
It's embedded.
And you don't know any different then. You know, you can watch all the films in the world and think, wow, every marriage is rosy and flowers and, you know, but it's not the real world.
No.
But it's teaching your boys and other women out there as well that if it doesn't feel right, walk away.
Is it as simple as you say?
You don't just walk away. I mean, as parents, you're always going to be tied to each other. You know, it's the one thing. You can't walk away and have a clean break because you've got children together. Your children are one day going to graduate. You're going to go.
They'll always be. That's your common factor. You'll always have something in common.
They're going to get married. They're going to have children. Whatever they're going to do in life, both of us will always be present for that, you know.
But what if it's not that amicable?
It's not.
Oh, it's not?
It's not. It's not amicable. It's not been amicable at all from day one. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. I made this decision in the hope that things could be amicable, in the hope that he would focus more on being a father rather than, because once we'd separated, we're not husband and wife anymore, but we're still mother and father. So my focus went to being a mom full time, but still trying to find myself. And I'd hoped that he'd do the same. And it hasn't happened, if I'm honest. And now both children live with me. But I think I said to you before, because I'm from London originally, I did think about just packing up and going. And I didn't, because I wanted him to have a relationship with his children. And he chose not to.
That's on him.
That's on him. And I'm hoping one day that, they can look back, the boys and their dad can look back and think, okay, we had that moment in our relationship, but now.
But does that sadden you anywhere?
Yes.
Because every mother wants a father for their kids.
It doesn't matter what happened between us.
Yeah, that's between you and him.
That's me and
but
him.
Your children deserve a father.
They deserve a father.
Yeah.
I can only teach them so much.
Yeah.
I can only guide them so much.
Especially boys.
Especially
they
boys.
Need a father.
There's things I can't tell them,
Yeah.
I will try my best. I mean, me and my mum were best friends, and I've tried to replicate that with my boys, because I feel like, so what if they're male and I'm a female? Why can't? And we are very close. We talk about everything.
You said earlier that you're connecting more as well now on emotional
But now
level.
it's feelings, emotions, what's going through their mind. Whereas before it was just, guess what so-and-so did at school today, and guess what I did today.
Do you think that's because, was that connection before you got separated, or is that connection that bond is building now? And
it's
why?
deeper. I think they could say to me before, I feel sad, but not elaborate on why they feel sad.
So why do you think?
I think it became necessary to just survive day to day. Like, a lot of emotions were going through our minds, especially the kids. And I think it can get too much, that if you don't say something, you don't know where those thoughts are going to take you. So it's probably easier to just say, Mom, I need to talk. And they do. They openly tell me how they feel, what they think. They openly tell me if they don't agree with something I've said or done. But the one thing they haven't said is, Mom, you leaving was the wrong thing. What they say is, you made the right decision. And that's all I need.
That's all you need.
Like I said to you, I don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
They can have their opinions, but these are my children. And
for them to stand there and understand that it's okay for you to, yes, you're allowed to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
What was the biggest sore point? Was it your mental health? Was it like what drove you that's it? 23 years is a long time, and it's like, that's it, I can't do it for another 24, like tired. One more 20.
Tired, drained, just felt like I'd become a robot. You just get up every morning, do the school run, do the housework, pick the kids up, feed them, take them where they've got to go. Like, it just became robotic. And some people like that. They like that lifestyle. I'm not knocking it, but it just wasn't for me. And I think slowly, as the kids were living their lives.
You're not the only one. There are so many women out
many.
there. So many women, but not many have got the courage of what you've got.
And I think you realise once you're going on that journey and you start talking to people, then people slowly open, I'm not happy either, or I've got this going on and I'm not sure what to do. And you think all of a sudden, oh my God, there's more of us, And then I feel like, I don't want to say that I'm inspiring people, because, divorce is never a great thing, is it?
It's a heartbreak.
It is, but it's not about separating. It's about owning yourself and realising that, yes, before those roles or those identities, you are a person. So if it's just a matter of, all these years I've stayed at home and I've been a mum, but I've always wanted to do X, Y, Z, go and do X, Y, Z. Just because you're a stay-at-home mom and you're a wife doesn't mean you can't do those other things.
Now.
Start.
Yeah, start. Take that first step.
Yeah, because life is short.
Life is short.
So do it. It's better to try and say, actually, it's not for me, than to think, I should have given it a go and I didn't.
100%. Again, I'm going to come back to the same question we started with. you said you've got a story, and you've got an incredible story. I think we all have a story.
100%.
What part of your story you think would be like an eye-opener for people, and why do you want to share that?
I think when people make big decisions in their life, they become afraid, they're scared. So be afraid and then do it, you know. If we weren't afraid, we wouldn't make big decisions in our life. So be afraid. I think I'd said to you before that if you go to a theme park and you get on a roller coaster, your heart is pounding. As much as you love the thrill, you love the adrenaline, your heart is still pounding.
It is.
But you go on that journey around that roller coaster and you come off and you think, wow, I want to do that again. And why can't you apply the same analogy to your life? That just because you're afraid doesn't mean you shouldn't do something. Grab it, hold it, own it, make it your decision and just do it. Even if you regret that decision, you've learned something from it. So then you can change your path, change your direction, but you need to make that decision for yourself. No one else can make a decision about your life for you, especially once you're an adult.
Very empowering, very powerful. That is true, because not many of us are making decisions for ourselves.
No.
In conversation with beautiful Taj, with a lovely, inspiring story. We can talk for hours, but it's time to go. If you've got anything to share, please DM, please ping us, because your story matters. We all matter.